Hello and welcome to GameSack. I haven't done a Left in Japan episode in over a year. These are getting tougher and tougher to do thanks to modern compilations and even games being brought over in the aftermarket sense for the original consoles that they were released on. Now this isn't a complaint, mind you, more and more people should be able to play these games. But for this episode, I'm going to take a look at some games that are still officially stuck in Japan. I think. Anyway, let's start with this one. Do you remember Stalker on the Genesis from Climax? It's an isometric action RPG where you collect things, battle enemies, and most importantly, you stalk land like it's never been stalked before. And it's a pretty cool game. Well, a few years later, Lady Stalker came out on the Super Famicom, also from Climax. Now instead of stalking land, you're stalking ladies. Wait, no, you play as a lady, but you're still a stalker. It retains the same isometric view as Land Stalker. It works best if you hold your controller diagonally, like this. You can no longer jump because everyone knows that women can't jump, it just doesn't happen. You can dash now though, and that's how you get across certain gaps. Like Land Stalker, the game takes a while before handing control over to the player, but this one really takes its time. Why is there barbed wire up in this guy's office? Once you get to the game, you'll find it completely in Japanese, naturally. An English fan translation was reportedly near complete, but the person doing it never bothered to finish. From what I've heard, it's bad form to start translating a game that's known to have someone else already working on it. So I guess we'll never get this one in English. That's pretty cool. You can probably figure most of it out though, and there are guides online for when you can't. Roaming around is generally enjoyable with lots of hidden paths and items to find. The fighting here is done with random battles, which is a different approach from Land Stalker. These happen a lot, and you have to beat all of the enemies before you can get back to stalking. Once you get used to the controls, these can be pretty fun. You just need to make sure to keep your distance from some of the enemies. Sometimes they'll put them up where you can't get to them. Fortunately, your weapon can still hit them, even on different levels. Graphically, the game looks similar to Land Stalker, but with nicer colors. It's severely letterboxed just like Land Stalker was. I don't really understand why. The game doesn't need the extra horsepower that not drawing half the screen would give them. Maybe they thought this would make the game cinematic. I have my doubts about that one because letterboxing wasn't popular with the mainstream in the 90s. I mean, even in the early 2000s, most people preferred pan and scan versions of DVD movies. It's such an odd choice for these games. Both games do take advantage of the space on the bottom for text and stuff. One area where Lady Stalker falls short is in the audio. Land Stalker has some great music and adequate sound effects. Lady Stalker has okay music and really bad sound effects. Why are there sounds for going up steps? And why is it this sound? Otherwise, this is a pretty good game that takes a bit to get used to because of the perspective and the control. Can't imagine why nobody wanted to localize this for any other region back in 95 or 96. It's definitely worth a look. This one's called Dragon Egg, and it's for the PC Engine from Messiah and NCS. In this one, you start out as a little girl. You smack things with your hammer as your attack. Actually, it's not a hammer, but an egg. In fact, you'd probably never guess this, but it's a dragon egg. You're sometimes able to collect some blue orbs, and these will allow the egg to hatch. The first and only thing that the dragon wants to do with its brand new life is help you attack enemies with its flame breath. Eventually, you collect more orbs, which lets him grow further and further. He'll eventually be able to shoot out fireballs and also be able to float a bit when you jump. However, he's very large, and that means you're an easier target. Occasionally, you'll find shops that you can enter. Here, you can buy the things with the coins that you collect from fallen enemies. Cure refills part of an empty heart on your life bar. The stage design is basic platforming stuff with lots of small platforms that move back and forth or up and down. This can be fun for sure, but the level design feels rather inexperienced to me, even for the time. Be careful, because if you lose all of your lives and have to continue, you restart the section as the girl swatting things with the egg. Yeah, good luck with this. There are only 6 levels to traverse through in this one. What's weird is that the last 3 levels are super short, especially level 4 here, which is just under a minute long. The graphics are okay for the PC Engine. There are some bright colors here and everything is very discernible, but nothing here is really above average. The music is rather bad. Actually, I take that back. There are a couple of good tunes, especially the final level. The game is strictly in mono. Overall, I suppose I'm glad that this one didn't get released outside of Japan. There's just nothing special here despite having lots of potential. Well, it's not a shooter, so maybe that's special for the PC Engine. Still, if you were ever curious about this one, now you know. This next one is a really good shooter that stayed in Japan pretty much because of its license. They should have done what Sega did with its Fist of the North Star games and stripped the license and brought it over anyway. This is Choijiku Yose. This is Super Dimension Force Macross Scrambled Valkyrie for the Super Famicom, published by Zamuse and developed by Winkysoft in 1993. Winkysoft. This game is based on the movie called Do You Remember Love? This is a horizontal shooter where your goal is, not to defeat enemies and beat the game, but instead to remember love. I know I've used that joke before when reviewing a Macross game, and I'll probably use it again. So while playing this, if you forget about love, well, it's game over for you. Okay, I'll stop with that for now. As with any Macross game, you control a vehicle that can transform into two different things, an airplane and a robot. But you also have a third mode that's stuck halfway between the two forms, like a happy malfunction or something. The cool thing about this game is that each mode fires different shots at different power levels. The airplane mode is the weakest, but also the fastest. In fact, only the airplane mode is fast enough to escape these gravity suckers in the first stage. The robot mode fires powerful shots, but he's slow because he's a robot. Everyone knows that robots are slow. Oh hey, I can hear you typing. Yes, I do know it's a mech. The transformation that's halfway is also between the two in speed and power. Each mode can be powered up twice, and they all power up independently. If you take a hit, your weapon level powers down. You also have a life bar. There's an S icon which can restore some of your life. There's also an anime girl icon that restores all of your life because it helps you remember oh, never mind, I said I'd stop. By the way, you can choose from 3 different characters and they each have their own Valkyrie and their own weapons. I like the first guy the best. His weapons are very well rounded. The second dude with the glasses has some cool weapons, but yeah, I just don't trust him as a pilot if he needs glasses. The third character is a girl who's really powerful, but all of her weapons fire very narrowly, so you need to be really good to play as her. Lastly, if you stop firing, you build up a shield thing. If the enemies touch it, they can defect to your side and attack others for a little bit. Some enemies have a defense against this, and other enemies are too big to defect to your side. It's risky to do, and you could get damaged while attempting this, but it's there if you want it. Before each stage, you get a message to hype you up, which says, "We sought a new machine for the fighting. Now the time to scramble Valkyrie again." Hell yeah, I'm pumped, let's go! The game is pretty tough at first until you get used to it. It loves having things flying quickly behind you without warning. The stages tend to be very long, but not all 7 of them. The graphics are pretty good, with some excellent effects that appear occasionally. You even get some Mode 7 here and there. There's a bit of minor slowdown, but it generally runs pretty well for a Super Famicom game. The music is mostly really good, and it sounds great. Well, except for the music in Stage 5, which I don't think really fits at all. It's probably better if you're a huge fan of the property. It's easy to say why this one never left Japan, and that's because of the Macross license. They could have just changed the name to Stupid Ninja Kids or something, and it probably would have been fine. Still, check this out if you like shooters, and naturally, if you love the IP, you'll appreciate it even more. Here's Deadly Skies for the PlayStation from Funcom and distributed by Coconuts. This airplane dogfighting game is not to be confused with the Konami game Air Force Delta, which is called Deadly Skies in Europe. Basically, this game wants to be the Street Fighter II of airplane games. You choose your plane, then face off dogfighting against another opponent, and you need to win 2 out of 3 rounds. There are even special moves, though I was never able to pull them off, to my knowledge anyway. This one was actually developed by a Norwegian firm destined for the PlayStation, Saturn, 3DO, and PC. Only the PlayStation version here ever saw release, and only in Japan. That might be a good thing because the control here is rather twitchy. You spend most of the gameplay following the red arrow. Once you get him in your crosshairs, you can fire a missile and hopefully hit him to deplete some of his life bar. In addition to flying in any direction, you can also speed up and slow down. You have a camera button which cycles through a bunch of different views, most of them being rather confusing when it comes to controlling your plane. The game can be rather tough thanks to the fly anywhere mechanic. You need lots of patience to finally get the enemy in your sights and also within range to strike. It's kind of easy to hate this game at first because it's so twitchy, and if you accidentally select the wrong camera angle, you'll quickly get frustrated. If you stick with the game a little longer, you'll start having some fun. But it'll never be a ton of fun. The graphics are fairly typical from what you'd expect on the console, maybe a little bare bones. The frame rate is kind of all over the place, as fast as 30 and as low as 15. The music is pretty good, and really that's probably the thing that kept me playing for as long as I did. I imagine that this game didn't get released anywhere else because no publisher wanted it. I can kind of see why. The gameplay itself needs more polish. It's still interesting that it managed to get a release at all, so at least we can all give it a try. This next one was another licensed title, and it was also a launch game for the original PlayStation in Japan. I have mixed feelings about it. Here's Crime Crackers for the PlayStation for Mediavision and Sony. This is based on some manga that they had going there in Japan. It's basically a dungeon crawler where you control 3 characters. You move through the dungeon, but when you encounter an enemy, you press a button to call up your aiming reticle. You press that same button to fire, and then press a different button to put the reticle away and resume the ability to move. That's right, you can't move when you're fighting an enemy. Well, you can strafe with the shoulder buttons, but that's it. If you hold both strafe buttons together, you can defend, which will lessen or negate the damage that you receive. You switch which character is your main with the select button at any time, and you keep going with 3 characters until they all lose their health. Basically, you have to work through the maze. Video gamers love mazes. They demand them in all their games. It is the pinnacle of game design. There are items to collect, such as health refills, gunpowder refills, ID cards to let you into the next section, and so on. You go into a special screen with the push of a different button to manage all of this. The problem is the very limited ammo in the game. I got to the first boss fight and there really wasn't anything I could do because I had no ammo. I consider this to be a pretty big flaw in the game design. So I went through it again and I did beat the boss this time. After that, you get a shop where you can upgrade stuff. I saved the game, or at least I thought I did, and then I chose this option and my PlayStation reset. I loaded up the save and I was back at the start of Mission 1. No thanks, I think I'm done with this one. It's a pretty basic game with several design flaws, but as I like to say, everyone was stupid about 3D game design back then. It was brand new. The graphics are, well, they're bland, but the music is awesome. Really, it's this game's only saving grace. Three years later, they released Crime Crackers 2, also on the original PlayStation. I kind of like the first one. This one, not so much. The controls are similar, except now 2 of the shoulder buttons are used for looking up and down. It's easier to move while firing, as you now need to hold the button to attack for the reticle and just let go to be able to move again. But now the levels are weirder and you need to press buttons, type in passwords, and attacking enemies is just more of a pain. Plus the music is repetitive as hell. I only included these games in this episode because they were suggested by some of you guys. If these games were in English and they dropped the license, they'd probably be a lot better, especially part 2 here. At least then I'd have an idea what I was doing. But man, it really needs music that has more than one bar. Here's Mega Panel on the Mega Drive from Namcot. This is a sliding puzzle game for 1 or 2 players. You need to slide the pieces around to match up 3 horizontally or vertically, then they disappear. When this happens, bombs will drop on the right side of the screen in the area where your piece was cleared, revealing part of a picture which the game calls a pinup. The goal in each stage is to remove all of the blocks so that the entire image is shown. While this is all happening, your playfield keeps moving up, so you need to work fast. You can also move it up a step on your own by pressing the A button if you find yourself unable to reach the other side or just need more tiles to move around. If it gets to the top of the screen and tries to move up from there, you lose a life and you have to restart the stage. Each block has a design on it, and later stages have many similar colored blocks with different designs to make you struggle a bit more. Hey, thanks! The 2-player mode plays the same way, but forgoes the bombs dropping and revealing pictures. Instead, you can get garbage blocks to fall on your opponent. Could this be the first 2-player puzzle game that does this? I can't say for sure, but you do need to win 2 out of 3 rounds in this mode. I remember seeing this game in magazines back in 1992, and the girls that you could reveal intrigued me. Probably because I was a complete horn dog. There's certainly no real nudity in this game because it's from Namco after all. Sorry, I mean Namcot. The graphics are fine. It doesn't really do much with the Genesis's abilities compared to an 8-bit game other than the increase in color. The drawings and such all look nice. For whatever reason, there's a sepia mode in the options. I don't know why you'd want to play like this. Maybe if the game wasn't difficult enough for you? Maybe Namcot was just trolling us? Who knows? It's bizarre that they even thought of this. The music is okay during the pinup game, nothing special, and it is in mono. The lesson mode, where you do what the computer tells you to do, as well as the 2-player mode, have better music that's in stereo. Overall, this is a decent puzzle game that's a bit different than most. According to Sega Retro, this game eventually found its way west in various compilations and as a built-in game for certain consoles. But it doesn't say what those titles or consoles may be. I looked, but I couldn't find anything. But I do know that it was left in Japan on the Genesis/Mega Drive, so just play this version. Next up is a shooter for the Genesis. Well, actually I should say Mega Drive since we're talking about Japan, shouldn't I? Anyway, the Mega Drive didn't have quite as many shooters as the PC Engine did, but it certainly had its fair share. This is Veritex for the Mega Drive from Opera House, ISCO, and Asmik. This is an overhead shooter, a no-frills overhead shooter. There's no intro, no cutscenes, hell, not even an option screen. The ending is just a bit of Japanese text and the credits. But the game itself is decently fun. Your goal in this game is to shoot things. You have 3 different weapons that you can collect, and each of them can be powered up a few steps. My favorite used to be the spread weapon because it's orange and blue, like the Denver Broncos. I'm like 97.6% confident that's why they chose these colors when they were making the game. But it's actually the weakest weapon. The default weapon can be fired behind you when it's powered up, and it can be handy, and you'll see more power-up icons for this than any other color. The third weapon is a strong narrow beam, and it can absolutely wreck your opponents. In addition to these, you also get a heat-seeking missile sub-weapon which fires with the same button. This can also be powered up so that there are more missiles on screen. You can get a shield which will let you take a few shots without dying. Button C adjusts your ship speed, and you can choose slow, medium, or fast. Lastly, you have a screen-filling bomb attack which weakens everything and gets rid of any enemy fire that's on screen. You have a limited stock of these, but they can be refilled. If you die, it's back to the very beginning of the level with the default weapon at its weakest. Good luck! The game only has 6 levels, so it's pretty short. The graphics are average most of the time, and it runs in the console's low resolution mode, and you can tell just by looking at it. I'd say some of the bosses look kinda nice though. A few of the backgrounds are a bit distracting, like it can be tough to see the enemies moving against the fast scrolling here. Stage 3 is the worst though, as your eyeballs will not appreciate these poorly animated waves and trying to discern everything moving on top of them. There's a lot of slowdown in this one too. The music, however, is awesome. It's done by Hitoshi Sakimoto and friends, the same people who did Master of Monsters and Midnight Resistance. It sounds a lot like those games. So, why wasn't this one released outside of Japan? Well, there was a glut of shooters at the time and the magazines were even calling this out. The game is only average at best aside from the music, and with only 6 levels, it just wasn't worth it for any publisher to localize. This one is called Popo Rogue and is for the PlayStation, made by Sony. I mean, the game is made by Sony, but I guess the PlayStation is too. This is the second game in a series of RPGs. You star as a 12-year-old prince who sneaks out of the castle before the title screen. It's an unskippable 7-minute adventure where you can't even speed up the text. Make us wait, I love it! Your hometown is lifted from the land just like the ancient land of Ys was in that series. Now it's up to you to save the entire universe. During the intro, I thought I was going to be stuck on the ground and would have to find out how to make my way back to the floating land. And then of course bring it back down to Earth. I'm going to say that might have been a more interesting quest. The control is handed over to you not long after the title screen, and from here it's familiar territory if you're used to RPGs. This is a fan-translated version I'm playing here, as you can tell. You're first told to go to the Lost Woods to get to another town to talk to someone. Here's where you'll encounter your first battles. It looks like they play as a tactical RPG, but only kind of. It's not that deep, but you still want to make sure to get as close to an enemy as you can to be sure to get a good hit in. Sometimes you'll get a treasure chest after a fight. There are also treasure chests laying around the various levels as well that have special things. The game is pretty easy so far, and you don't seem to need to grind, but I did a little anyway because that's just what I always do. You walk with the D-pad and you can hold down X to run. The game is also compatible with the DualShock controller, and either analog stick will let you walk or run if you press it all the way. There's even rumble in the game, which I turned off like I almost always do. Naturally, you have shops to buy and sell stuff, and I like how they show you how the item affects your stats before you buy them, just like any good RPG does. The menu system is quick and easy to navigate when you want to equip things, use items, or any of that nonsense. You eventually get more party members to travel with you that you can hire, but I've only played for an hour so far, and that hasn't happened yet. The dungeons themselves aren't super complex in this first hour, but I was a bit annoyed that the Lost Woods maze changed as I had to work my way from the end back to the beginning. I guess that's where the rogue part of the title comes from. I didn't know they meant it that way. Yes, video gamers love mazes more than anything in life, and having them be random all the time keeps those mazes fresh, but I like learning mazes and then remembering them. I guess I just prefer actual thought going to the level design. Having levels be generated randomly almost feels cheap, like, you know, AI or something, even though it technically is AI. So I won't be returning to this one, but otherwise, it plays well. The 2D graphics are very nicely drawn and detailed. Everything looks extremely clean, though there is a bit of screen tearing in the scrolling here and there. The music is a mixed bag. Some of it is decent, and some of it is kind of awful. Like this wretched tune that has a bunch of slide whistles in it. I haven't heard anything yet that I would consider really good. I am a bit surprised that this one didn't get an international release, as RPGs were becoming mainstream after Final Fantasy VII's release a year earlier. And there you go, more games that have been left in Japan. For now. So what are some other games that are stuck in Japan that maybe I should cover? And please don't suggest any text-intensive games that have no English fan translation like some of y'all did last time. Come on guys, Bounty Hunter Sarah on the Dreamcast? There's no way I can play this very far. Anyway, let me know, and in the meantime, thank you for watching GameSack. Genesis Drunk. Thank you for taking the time to watch my video about the 10 dumbest Genesis games. There's one qualifier I'm going by here, and that's that the game needs to be dumb. So let's begin. 10. Zoom. All you do is skate around a grid trying to fill the squares in. Nobody asked for this, and the people who made it should feel bad about it. I really hope that they've been experiencing great financial hardships over these last few decades. 9. Team USA Basketball. Why do they draw the court like that, with the more triangular-shaped lane? It's so dumb. We have perfectly rectangular lanes here in the USA. USA is in the name of the game, so what gives? I just can't with this one. 8. Sword of Sodan. Hey, wanna play a game where your controller barely does anything? This is that game. I really don't like it, mainly because it's so dumb. 7. Phantasy Star 4. This RPG has a bunch of fans for some reason. You play as a character named Alice, spelled A-L-Y-S. Oh really? I remember in the first game where Alice was A-L-I-S. I'm so incredibly sick of this revisionist history, I turned it off immediately, after completing the game 5 separate times. 6. Shadow Blasters. This one is incredibly dumb. 5. Sonic the Hedgehog. Haha, sure Sega, you thought you could create a character to compete with Nintendo's Mario? Yeah, as if. Quit being stupid, Sega. 4. Pat Riley Basketball. Give me a break. You can't even play as Pat Riley in this game. That totally blows. Mainly because when you think about Pat Riley, you think about action and adventure. Come on, give him a sword and a gun and make him fight aliens or something. Instead, we get this debacle where you try to score points for some reason instead of saving the universe. 3. Centipede Infestation. This isn't even a Genesis game. That's how dumb it is. 2. Cyborg Justice. I don't get it. Is the game about justice for cyborgs or cyborgs dispensing justice? And I get the feeling that you're a robot and not a cyborg. 1. Heavy Nova. Wow, if you thought Cyborg Justice was dumb, and I do, get a load of Heavy Nova. It's basically the same thing, only more dumb. The robot that you control is too stupid to do what you tell it to do with your controller. I've completed this one about 16 times, and I just can't bring myself to finish it a 17th time. That's how dumb this one is. And that's all for now. I want to thank you for watching, I suppose.